I think Jankel Adler actually does deserve to have a far greater reputation than he does, because he's very much part of the modern movement. He was friends with some of the leading artists of the time. He was looking quite clearly at a whole load of different influences, ranging from Picasso at one extreme right back to very early historic art at another extreme. And he was bringing it all together in a synthesis that was very personal, very much his own vision. And to have him working here in Britain at this very, very difficult, very intense, very dramatic time, I think adds to the sense that we really ought to get to know him, not only as a person, but as an artist, far more than we have done. He deserves it. Occasionally, when you look at Adler's paintings, you realise that he does have a sense of hope as well. For example, in this painting, I think what is happening, although we're not quite sure, is that the woman has released a bird from the cage that's still sitting on the table. Not only released the bird, but allowed it to fly towards an open window. So although he had every reason to suppose that everything was quite grim and that a lot of hope was lost, in this particular instance, I think there is a strong feeling of optimism, giving the picture a huge amount of life. I mean, you might imagine that this is a portrait of somebody that he knew, somebody who was posing for him. But by this time in his life, he really wasn't doing much in the way of portraiture at all. So it's mostly a woman probably who comes from his imagination alone. And she might even be somebody very historic who's come in from a remote region of the past. Almost perhaps like a priestess who's going to conduct some strange ceremony. That's one of the things I like about Adler's work. It makes you ask all kinds of questions and wonder if ... quite a lot. Like a lot of Jankel Adler's paintings, you get the feeling that he's concentrating here on a table with some objects laid across it. Maybe a cup here, ready to drink. Maybe, and I mean maybe, food in plates, ready to be eaten. But of course, that's only half the picture. And the upper half, there's something else again. I mean, what is going on here? Something is floating in the air, but maybe it's not floating. Maybe it's almost like some sort of strange creature that's just jumped over from the floor and is about to kind of descend onto the food because the creature feels hungry. And by creature, I mean this form here seems to have an eye and a great big gaping open mouth, and is about to grab whatever Adler has painted on the table below. So it's almost like the sort of instant before something is put into the mouth and consumed. So I think it is an image about hunger and the desire to somehow kind of put an end to that hunger by satisfying yourself, satisfying your appetite. So there's a tremendous sense of drama, I think, in this picture. During the 1940s, Jankel Adler became more and more abstract as a painter, but never completely abstract. So there are always clues to be found in these paintings as to what's going on. And the main clue here is at the bottom, where you have the plate, and I think I'm fairly confident in saying that there is a fish lying on the plate, doubtless ready to be eaten. But the question, of course, that arises in our minds is eaten by whom? Because above the plate and the fish, you're not quite sure what precisely is going on, There are all kinds of very mysterious forms here, and the more you look at them, the more you wonder whether there are maybe two figures, one here and one here, who are either approaching the table ready to eat or are sitting down already. We don't actually know, and I don't think Jankel Adler wanted us to know, but he wanted us to ask the questions in our own mind and puzzle it out for ourselves. This is the largest and one of the most important paintings in the exhibition, and actually it is one of the most mysterious as well. At first you think it's pretty abstract, and then by degrees you realize that there's a table here thrusting up from the bottom of the painting over a very bright red carpet, very, very strong, warm colour. But there's nothing very warm about the rest of the painting. It's very dark, it's very mysterious. It looks as if it's perhaps taking place in the dead of night, and there may be, although nobody really can be sure, but there may be some kind of mysterious figure, possibly even two figures. I myself think that possibly there's an eye here, in which case the face around the eye almost could resemble that of a robot. So it's almost like some sort of machine figure, perhaps even a warrior, a soldier, something that Adler remembered from his own experience of not only the First World War but the Second World War. A figure advancing through the room towards the table. But what is beyond doubt is the sense of atmosphere that Adler has injected into every painted inch of this picture, and he's inviting us to go with him on some mysterious voyage of discovery. He's saying, I'm not sure myself what's going on here. I am as perplexed in a way by life and my own experience as you may be, but I want to make that clear in my picture, and I want you, the viewer, and I, the artist, to come together in agreeing about the essential mystery of life.